Welcome back, folks, to WP-Tonic this month in WordPress and Tech. It's our live monthly roundtable show. We've got a couple of great special guests. We've got some great stories. We're going to be discussing a WordPress proposal to host third-party blocks. We're going to be talking about Reddit's IPO. We're going to be talking the WP Tavern Hunger Games, and we've got a host of other stories. We've got a great panel. We've got a couple special guests. We've got Justin Tadlock with us and Devin Walker with us. They're well known in the WordPress space, and we've got most of the regular panel. We've got Spencer, who is in a little bit of pain from his operations, but he looks reasonably happy on his drugs.
Another day, another surgery.
Exactly. The drugs help, don't they? And I've got Heather as well. Should be a great discussion. So I'm going to let the panel quickly introduce themselves. But I say that, maybe we'll go for our break first. And I don't know. I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves first. So let's start with Justin first. Justin, would you quickly like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Justin Tadlock. I am a developer advocate for the WordPress project, and I'm sponsored by Automatic. So if you have issues with developer experience, ping me anytime, DM or whatever.
Have you got an automatic tattoo now?
Oh, no.
No, all right, there we go. So I thought they all were tattooed, actually, but there we go. Devin, sorry, that's the kind of remark that gets me into a lot of trouble. Devin, Devin's already wondering why you came on the show again. Devin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. Hey, Devin Walker here, founder of GiveWP, of which some of our employees did get voluntarily the Give icon tattooed on them. So just a side note there. Wasn't forced or anything. But now I'm a senior vice president at Stellar WP, whose owners are Liquid Web. And so happy to be on the show.
I'm tempted to ask where they were tattooed, but I'm not going to. There we go. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Heather Wild-Renzi. I am the CTO of The Difference Consulting, and I'm also known as the Unicorn Whisperer.
Yes, the Whisperer. There we go. Spencer, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
It's Spence from WPLaunchify.com, and it's good to be back here after a while. I wish, based on the sunshine coming out of Devin's window, I wish I was in San Diego this morning. But yeah, by the way, in Chicago, it was 71 2 days ago. And it's 21 this morning.
Lovely. And I've got my patient and thoughtful regular co-host, Kurt. Kurt, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey folks. My name is Kurt. I own a company called Mañana No Mas. I also work directly with Jonathan at WP-Tonic and the good folks at Lifter LMS.
Before we go into the meat and potatoes of this great show, got a couple major messages from our major sponsors. We will be back in a few moments, folks.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Lifter LMS, the leading learning management system solution for WordPress. If you or your client are creating any kind of online course, training-based membership website, or any type of e-learning project, Lifter LMS is the most secure, stable, well-supported solution on the market. Go to lifterlms.com and save 20% at checkout with coupon code podcast20. That's podcast20. Enjoy the rest of your show.
Coming back, folks, I also want to point out that we've got some great special offers from the sponsors, plus a curated list of the best WordPress plugins for you, the WordPress professional, and services. You can get all these goodies by going over to wp-tonic.com/deals, wp-tonic.com/deals, and you'll find all the goodies there. What more could you ask for? Probably a lot, but that's all you're going to get from that page. I'm sorry to disappoint. I've made a career of it. A career of disappointment and disillusionment, but there we go. I'm English. What do you expect? So let's go straight into it, panel.
Right.
So let's start with this proposal. Host third-party blocks in Gutenberg, GitHub repository, whatever repository. Blah, blah, blah. Another great title from the Tavern. Devin, what did you think of this story?
Yeah, I saw this and I read over it, and I think it's a good idea. There's a lot of great third-party blocks. One of the issues that I saw that was interesting is there are like a zillion block libraries out there, and finding just one block that is a good one can be difficult on its own, right? Because you've got, name the block library, right? We have cadence blocks here, which is my favorite, but there's a bunch of other ones, and I've built a block only plugin to experiment with this. We did a donation block for Stripe, like a very, very lightweight. Just if you didn't want to use the full Give WP, you just want a simple, nice looking donation form that connects to Stripe. Did that, submitted it to the block directory, and it's pretty sweet. I mean, you can download it, put it on your page. If you remove it from the page, the plugin uninstalls itself, and it's a clean system that works. So I think it's good. I mean, why keep it closed?
Yeah, so Spencer, I really like the idea, but the problem is it becomes a glory. I think you've pointed this out a few times. It becomes a glorified flea market on steroids, doesn't it?
Well, first of all, I missed this kind of jibber jabber, and I've stayed out of politics for a while, for the last couple months of WordPress. But I'm going to, in a nice way, dip my toe into the overarching theme that's covering the WordPress drama of the week, which I'm going to pull in addition to the blocks, some people deciding that it was a good idea to break zip file uploads from Mac OS operating system. And then there was some other issue about the new, if you use certain themes, that when you click a new page open, that now you got this gigantic kitchen tablecloth.
No, are you saying you're going to go totally off story and introduce?
No, I'm bringing it together because here's my opinion. My opinion is, for the love of all that is good, can we please have some top-down decision-making? Because the problem is there's an infinite array of cooks, many of whom are all really young and enthusiastic about WordPress, who have no idea of the history of I finally got to meet Justin Tadlock, who off screen I said, he taught me how to code WordPress 20 years ago. We have a history of how things are done. And there's nothing wrong with the idea of a block. But the problem is a block is like taking a cookie out of a box and throwing it out in the middle of 1,000 other cookies. You can't, real cookies you eat. You can't just think of a block in a vacuum. A block has to have style sheets, and it has to work with other patterns, and it has to be part of a system that there's underneath code. And the problem is that everybody's just randomly throwing shit all over the place now. And if we put it into organizational categories, that'll make it magic. But no, because then there's other people who are saying, depends on the theme you're using, depends on the operating system. And now instead of a unified system like every other platform, WordPress is 3 flea markets inside of a larger flea market. Like near me, they have this really great, I think it's in like an Asian bazaar. It used to be a mall, and there's like 10,000 kiosks of people selling their wares. And any weekend you could have a completely different outcome. That's the problem with WordPress. We need a top down. Somebody submitted a block and it got put into the official core of blocks, just like my favorite, Cadence. The reason it works so well is because if you stick with all Cadence blocks, you can make patterns that work on everything, and there's not one wanky thing that one person has that breaks it. So yes. That is my long story. Welcome back, Spence, the long talker. But I know you made
well, I thought you made some good points.
Not an easy thing to do.
No. So, Justin, what do you reckon about this?
Yeah. So first, I want to say, Devin, I did when I was at the Tavern, I reviewed the Give WP form block. It was one of my favorite blocks at the time. So I haven't tried it in a while. I hope y'all still working on it.
Well, there's nothing like the Godfather WordPress making Devin's ego even bigger.
Hey, I think I even listed Give WP itself as one of my top plugins of the year one year.
How much is he paying you to say this?
I don't know. But yeah, so in terms of this idea, I like it in a way. because I think it solves some of the problems that we're seeing with individual blocks. There's not enough awareness, for one thing. I think part of that's like the repository itself needs a little bit of an overhaul too, and not just the repository, the UI within the WP admin. Like we need to, like it needs to push blocks a little bit more if we want the single block idea to take off. But I also think like block libraries are kind of what users ask for in a lot of ways. I would say cadence blocks. You can just kind of build a silo, and I think we see a lot of that with theme and plugins. You're just building your own products and like keeping your users there so you can better control the experience. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but in terms of just like core, like controlling a whole bunch of like blocks on its own, I'm not entirely sure if I'm completely on board yet. I mean, I do like the idea. I want to explore it and see where we go.
Well, it's tricky, isn't it? It's like most things. It's got its strengths and it's got its weaknesses. So,
Yeah.
Heather, you were nodding away when Spencer was saying, what's your view on this, Heather?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with Spencer. I mean, like the problem with a lot of people when they're trying to develop things is that they put a lot of shit on their site. And with this, it's I mean, at least they can go somewhere and know that somebody's vetted it. I mean, they may not be able to trust like anything in WordPress, but at least they can trust like if I go here, this code isn't going to screw up my site. Hopefully. So, I mean, I think that's what it is. I think it's saying that this code block won't cause my site to crash.
Yeah, so what do you reckon, Kurt? Because I see some strength. I think it's a very appealing idea, but it also it could bring all the additional, like what Spencer pointed out, you end up with an additional free market. You know, you end up with an even more fragmented system.
I think about my own user experience, and you know, it's far be it from me, for my opinion, to govern how this thing would actually work. But I think about the repository for plugins in general and having those 60,000 plus options, and how I'm able to build a thriving agency off of a core group of 15 to 20 tools that I can use. And I think about how I've leveraged the cadence blocks, you know, so we can really give the shout out to Cadence on the show. But, you know, I use Cadence quite extensively, and that block library that comes with Cadence Pro is phenomenal, and it answers 95% of what I need. And so when I think about the idea of everybody just kind of throwing their own kind of block into this giant directory, my head spins a little bit, and I think to myself, how many layers of duplication and junk and trash is going to end up in there that gets used by 5 people?
Yeah. All right.
Nobody's mentioned, because it may be cleared up like a month ago, the whole issue of the backlog of approving plugins. This suggestion is based upon every block being a plugin that has to, guess what, be approved. Like, can you imagine? It's like everybody has to build a car in order to, you know, submit an air freshener or something.
Yeah, but that's how it always was. Like, if you want to,
just saying the model is broken for that reason, because
and I don't think it's like every single block just gets let in. There's curation, and it needs to meet standards. And not only when the block does get in, you do get development support from the core committers. So it's not just like everybody gets to attend the flea market. It's only exclusive, like, chosen blocks that get to.
I'm not disagreeing with the concept of curation and approval. I'm saying actually take it farther. I'm saying take Kevin Geary, who we both interviewed and so forth. Kevin's idea of a framework, and I was on board with this months ago, a framework that's extensible for any normal human being to start making blocks so that they can be approved on a streamlined basis, instead of everybody having to build the whole factory to make a car as a plugin that has a random chance to it. Like, there's no reason that somebody should have to, even today, the core blocks. There's functionality in Cadence blocks now for 3 years that the core people are still twiddling their thumbs around. Like, it's incredible to me. Like, I've said 10 times, why not just copy the code of Cadence and put it into core for these things? Put a different label. I mean, honestly, isn't that open source? You guys don't own it. It's open source. You know, I'm saying, God bless you that you brought it here, but like you've already figured it out. Why do we have to suffer through people with 2 different paragraph blocks? One does nothing and yours does everything, you know?
Yeah, I feel it. And one point that you made really resonates with me is more top-down decision making. I think that really struck a chord with me, because within WordPress, just trying to commit something, like I think I have a patch coming into 6.5 that I opened 10 years ago.
Exactly.
And the amount of conversation around it is you have to spend a day just reading it, and it's the most simple change there ever is.
We're debating
Right.
people who have their own, you know, God bless them, microscopic view of the world, who've never sold anything to a real customer. Like this debate of OSX, you know, I can't make a zip file after 20 years in OSX because some dude decided that that's
Right,
suddenly a security
we
issue.
need to move on to the next story. So off we go. I'm going to ask Heather. So our next story is a lot of Redditors hate Reddit IPO. So Heather, maybe you can give a quick outline what this story is about, and then give what your view is on it, Heather.
Yeah, so basically Reddit is going to file for IPO, or at least that's the thing. But I don't know if you've ever been on Reddit. I'm sure if you're watching this podcast, you probably have. And Reddit doesn't really have a monetization strategy. I mean, they sell NFTs sometimes, and I mean, it's just a forum. It is just a forum. They don't really have any way to make money.
Well, that never stopped IPO, did it?
Well, I mean, it stops IPOs now. And so yeah, I mean, it's kind of gimmicky. I mean, the idea is, yeah, okay, Reddit is on the news all the time, but that's not an advertising strategy. So
they've got ideas. I think you're being a bit unfair. They've got ideas about how they can make money.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the interesting thing, I mean, okay, so they want to give their power users and their mods like first dibs on buying the stock. Okay, great. But I mean, their stock, I mean, even if it goes up on the first day, it's going to be like worth a penny in a week. And then, I mean, Reddit is a terrible, terrible idea for an IPO. So, I mean, yes, giving these people an opportunity to buy stock.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I did
Yeah.
hear on this week's Startups that another podcast that this was an attempt to find price discovery, and they've got no real plan to go for IPO. They're hoping that a buyer comes and buys them out before that they actually go for the IPO. It's a discovery mechanism, a price discovery mechanism. What do you think of that? It sounded a bit bizarre to me, but I don't know.
I mean, it could be, but I mean, again, the way that they're going about it, I mean, everything that they've tried to do to make money hasn't worked. And it just, like, Reddit just costs a lot of money. And I don't see anyone wanting that on their books.
So, Devin, I hope you've got a lot of Reddit karma coming your way, but I also, I'm going to really make myself some fans here. I see great linkage between this attempt and what Automatic will be attempting as well. I see them very linked in a way. First of all, have you got karma at Reddit? And what do you think of my linkage between Reddit's attempt and Automatic's upcoming attempt?
Well, I think the difference is you pay like a monthly fee for your hosting on WordPress.com versus Reddit, which is basically a social network that's heavy on content, which I am not a hardcore Redditor. I've tried in the past to get into some WordPress communities in there, and Reddit is like notoriously toxic, more so than Twitter and X. /X, I should say.
That's mind-boggling, really, isn't it?
I mean, maybe not more so. It depends who you ask, I guess. But to me, the IPO, like, if you read the article, it's a lot of opinions, or it's the nail in the coffin of Reddit. They can monetize their users. And one similar thing to Automatic that I read in that was that they're going to start selling the content to OpenAI, right? They're striking up a deal with them.
I'm sure that makes the Reddit crowd joyous, doesn't it?
Oh, I'm sure they love that.
But that'll just make the people go away.
Yeah. So I unfortunately think it's going to be, I hate to draw similarities to Tumblr, but it might have already peaked.
That's what. That was nasty. That was spicy. That was nasty. So, Justin, what do you think this concoction, this Frankenstein of IPO?
Well, I actually don't really follow that much. If it's not in the S&P 500, I don't care about it. Usually. So, I mean, that's where, personally, I, keep my money is mostly in the S&P 500, but so I don't really think about.
So are you on Reddit at all, or do you avoid it like the plague?
I think I'm in a couple of like book reading groups that are less toxic than the rest of Reddit. So that's about it. Movie collecting groups, and that's it.
So, Kurt, what do you think of this?
I think people get angry whenever they're not creative enough to build their own platform and they try to depend on someone else's platform, like, Tumblr, Medium, Patreon. They try to build on top of these platforms, and then when changes are proposed, they lose their minds as a collective community. I know that these sites depend on this type of traffic, but if you're using this type of site to build your platform, you need to have somewhere else to guide your people to. You can't be dependent upon these, rent spaces to build your voice or your platform on, and then get upset when it changes direction.
So, Spencer, this story, I think it interests me. There's so many issues beyond the headline, beyond the madness of Reddit and this spicy platform. Thinking it's a contradiction, I think their success is totally driven by Google anyway, because Google, you do a search term, a Reddit comes up, and I think that's driven most of their traffic anyway. I think the whole thing, but it does interest me making this Frankenstein spicy, and it's so spicy that even you got to kind of wrestle anybody to advertise on it because it's so spicy. What's your views about this?
I mean, my primary takeaway is the company is yet to make a profit, and yet the CEO took $190 million last year. Now, I understand that that's his prerogative, and there was a big political fight about him clamping down on the people that ran the communities, right? So I use Reddit for a lot of interesting side topics like microdiscectomies and stuff like for health. It's an actually valuable place for community members. But there was all this politics. The guy took 190 million. You've got Wall Street bets lurking around the corner. You've got the fact that it's a question as to whose content is it to be given to AI, which I think bookmark that, Mr. Mullenweg. And then we've got this overarching, like Heather brought in, what's the real way the wind is blowing these days with the IPO and the finance community and everything else? Because I don't think a lot of people have a real taste for let's throw money into the wind and see where it lands. So if he or they try to do this, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a really fun sitcom to watch the short sale people going against the longs and everything else. But I just don't understand the impetus other than Steve needs to cash out.
Well, it's to make money, isn't it?
But the only real motive here, because he's sitting on essentially an equitable asset. If he could ever figure out in a million years how to make money, it's not like it's going to go down. But I think it's a race of how long is he going to be keeping his money in there? Although at $190 million a year, I don't understand the rush to get out.
Yeah, but what did you make of this karma thing? He's handing out karma.
Gimmick. That's the problem. Gimmick, because these guys, like, I cut my teeth before WordPress in the
do you think Matt is going to give me a lot of karma?
No, the problem in general, and Heather is the expert on this, but like I came from that world of venture-based freemium and all this nonsense back in the early 2000s. Is that people who don't make any connections with the real world are making financial decisions like, oh, there's like in the movie industry, everything should be a Marvel movie because like one Marvel movie made money. And then you have a trend of 8 to 10 years of everybody making a Marvel movie.
I'm always amazed at the amount of Captain Obviouses that there is in WordPress.
Right, but see, that's the problem. The real ecosystem, believe it or not, we know the ecosystem WordPress is not coming from Matt. It's coming from all these other independent vendors. The ecosystem of Reddit is probably somewhere in the community members, moderators. If they could monetize the incentives of those people and give them a profit share of it, I think this thing would be very profitable.
It's a great idea, but it's fantastic. It's just that.
But the gimmick
is this karma thing. But the
gimmicks of that is it's like coupons that you can't redeem anywhere for anything. And I've suggested bringing it back to Devin's other conversation on our last topic that I've talked about. Like the top-down thing doesn't have to be Matt getting in charge of WordPress. It has to be those of us who have a financial incentive in WordPress create our own consortium of people who make decisions and stuff. It applies in any community. I know you don't like it, but that's how the real world works. That's why federal government doesn't work as well as local government, and local government can work itself out on the force of personality. Right. You have a smaller community.
I'm just waiting for my WordPress karma tokens. That's what I mean. Matt can send as many as he likes to me.
There's drama at all levels.
Yeah, and I just wanted to remark about something Devin said. I don't know. I love to know how much income WordPress.com really contributes to Automatic. I don't know anybody that hosts their bloody site on WordPress.com. I'm sorry, but there we go. I've just struck off 1 million karma WordPress tokens that I was supposed to receive there, Devin. Do you realise that?
We'll get you some WordPress tokens.
Well, yeah.
You know what's I want to make one relevant point that I think would be useful to think about for anybody in these situations. The one difference is of WordPress versus all of these other SaaS is that we, the people, own the code and have the code. If you're a community person on Reddit, you're locked in a gilded cage. You can't just take it to go. But in WordPress, anybody in the community can go off and build whatever the hell they want. And
I do get just to finish this off before we go for our break, I just get the impression it's a bit like Wikipedia. There's a certain group of people, and I think they literally spend their lives on Reddit, and they're the kind of same crowd as editors that are on Wikipedia. They're a very small clique. And I think they spend literally 24/7 on Reddit or Wikipedia, and they have no life. They're the same people that make obvious comments on the Tavern as Justin would be able to tell us, wouldn't you, Justin? I don't expect you to reply to that, Justin. Actually, we're going to go for our break, folks. We've got some few more stories, and it should be a great second half. We'll be back in a few moments, folks.
Tired of hosting providers that can't handle high traffic loads? Conversio is here to help. Our platform can handle any amount of traffic, all without slowing down or crashing. With immediate Slack support, performance optimization, and a team that thrives on resolving technical challenges, your e-commerce business is in safe hands. Learn more about Conversio at conversio.com.
Coming back, folks. Just want to point out, if you've got a membership website, learning management system, or you've got a community, a Buddy Boss website project, and a client that wants you to build a fantastic WordPress website, and you're looking for a great hosting partner, have a look at WP-Tonic. We offer great hosting at a great price, but much, much more. And you're just going to have a great experience yourself and be able to give a great experience to your clients. What more could you ask for? To find out more, go over to wp-tonic.com/partners. wp-tonic.com/partners. You can book a chat with me and we can see if we could build something special in 2024. What more could you ask for? Probably a lot, but that's all I got offered on that page. So
$190 million.
Yeah, there we go. We go. The WP Tavern launches the Hunger Games. So, Justin, I think this is. I'm just going to give you my opinion on this, Justin. I think it's a sorry day for the Tavern. You know, a writer. We need you were more than a writer. You were the editor, in my opinion. I don't know what title you had. And of course, now you're all to musician, aren't you? So I suppose I can't ask you. I just think it's a sad day that you get a flea market and you're going to choose some writer from a Hunger Game experiment. Why not just hire somebody that's a decent freaking editor, for God's sake? Over to you, Justin.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I like the idea in some ways, but I think it gives an opportunity to folks in the WordPress community. Like this is kind of like almost hiring internally within the community. So I'm not against that. I do. Several of the writers actually contacted me before their trial, of course.
Of course.
So what I would like to say to them is the advice I've given to everyone is I'd like to everyone to be a bit more bold. I feel like we're kind of that safe zone. Everybody's a little green at the moment. Like I want to see the person who's really got opinions and who really, I want some, more tech knowledge there. So, but that's where I'm kind of at right now. I don't have a favorite. I wouldn't mention it anyway if I did, but I want to see the next generation of writers, and it's going to take a bit for them to kind of cut their teeth. I should say. And the best way to do it is just learn on the job. You'll learn to be a good editor and a good writer, or you'll fail. When the readers will let you know. The Tavern readers are brutal at times.
That's a diplomatic way of putting it. So, Spencer, what's your view on this Hunger Game concept, Spencer?
Well, now that I've added my playing card of meeting Justin, I have all the playing cards of the original Tavern authors that I used to get amazing content from, mostly technical. The original Tavern days, I used to enjoy. I mean, when you would publish, Justin, it would be like, how to do this, how to do that. And you did it on your own website as well. But the idea is today, Sarah did a great job of keeping the relative drama pretty low key. And I'm not going to say it was boring, but it was sort of like, and she did an amazing job of keeping it moderated. But now this last choice, I'm not saying I would have enjoyed it, but I had thrown my hat into the ring of like, let's shake this up and try something different. And Matt reached out and said, I wasn't on the list of $25 an hour authors to do this. And I do not feel bad that I'm not in this group, because honestly, all the authors are pals of mine. They're really nice people. I don't see where they're going with this right now. Like, I do not see any compelling thing being talked about here, because the point of the Tavern was you go to the Tavern and you'd have Jeffro, or some kind of drama, and you'd have a beer with your pals at Cheers and like talk about WordPress stuff. Now it's like, I don't need, a news feed of trivial items. So unless they're going to change this, or one of these people is going to beat all the other people and suddenly become a chameleon, I got better things to read. No offense to my pals writing it. I just don't see this.
Well, it's tricky, but Devin, isn't this it's a bit like podcasting or any media content, isn't it, Devin? Sponsors and that, they want eyes on content, but to get eyes on content, it's got to be a bit spicy. But sponsors don't want spicy, or it's got to be the right level of spicy, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's tricky with the Tavern. I'm not going to name. There's certain WordPress Slack channels that if you go to, you just fall asleep straight away, wouldn't you? But you could turn the Tavern into a sleep fest, but it needs to be a bit spicy. But where's the middle ground, Devin?
Well, I think you're getting hired by Matt Mullenweg, who's the OG of and founder of WordPress, so there's already some tension there. Like you want to do spicy stuff, but you're on Hunger Games. What's the little like revolt thing? Should we do this? Like, yeah, the revolt symbol for Hunger Games. What surprises me, I know a lot of these writers too. Topher, WP Hero or Hero Press. What was it? Hero Press, whatever it's called. He got some hot water for that way back in the day. Adam Silver, you know. So I think I would love to read spicy articles that are written with a high form of opinion. I don't know if that's the direction Matt gave them.
But the problem with that is there's only being a bit spicy is okay, but if it's too poisonous and it's too drama filled, it becomes a real shit fest, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you want to buck the trend or you know, provide your opinion, but there's always a balance there. And I think objective journalism can get very boring if that's all this is going to be. Like, oh, a retrospective of the photo festival. I don't give a shit about that. I'm not going to read that article.
Isn't that what AI is for? Like,
I don't care shit about that. I'm sorry.
And just to what Devin said, sorry to interrupt the thought, but like,
No worries.
we had a small group of people sitting around a campfire in the early days. So it was like literally a few hundred, few dozen, you know, it was a small, but millions of people using it, reading an article about some dry thing. It's like, what? Like most people don't even know who's being talked about. So
there we go. So what do you reckon? What do you reckon, Heather? Is it possible to be spicy and interesting, or does it have to be dreary, boring?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you were following the Daily Show and trying to find a new host, but I mean, they tried for over a year. I mean, it was like 18 months trying to find a replacement for Trevor Noah, and they ended up back with Jon Stewart. Because like their spicy and interesting people caused too much drama. So now they're back to the guy that was before Trevor Noah, specifically because nobody wants to, I mean, they just can't risk it. So who knows? Maybe Justin, you're going to go back.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, I don't want that.
It's a grind. The job's a grind. And I enjoyed my time there. But yeah, I like whoever said the word spicy. I think that's the exact perfect word. Yeah, you have to have opinions. And,
well, there's a difference between spicy and poisonous, isn't there?
Yeah. When you have opinions, you need to at least back things up with as much fact, or at least have good reasoning for your opinions. You can't just go throwing your own drama out there. There's plenty of it in the WordPress community anyway. You just got to share it. And there's been drama this week, and I'm like, where is this on the Tavern? So, you know, you got to be catching those stories.
All right. On to the next one. Corporate owners. How do you pronounce it? Ozempic. I'm going to throw it over to Heather again. Did you have the opportunity to listen to this, Heather? And if you did, can you give a quick outline on what your thoughts are?
No, I didn't.
Oh dear, you get a black mark.
The audio, sorry.
Did anybody else listen to this? Oh, right, Devin. You get a gold star, Devin, unlike Heather. Unlike Heather that doesn't get a gold star. What was your thoughts?
Hey, I'm in Antarctica, so like my bandwidth is very light.
All right, there we go. So can you give us a quick outline of what the piece is about and what was your thoughts about it, Devin?
Well, Ozempic is that really trendy, fat-burning, get you rid of the last 15 pounds type of drug, right? I think it was on 60 Minutes the other day, and what the article is doing is relating that to like corporate, I don't know what term you would give that.
Cutting people out so you can make more money.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's easy to overhire, and it's hard to fire sometimes, and I think the corporate world that we live in, with tech especially, they're chronically overhiring sometimes, right? When it's boom years, they're going to overload. And what this article is saying is like, in order to get to like $1 billion company, you need the manpower to do that, or the people power to do that, excuse me. And and sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's where the correlation begins. I'm giving a terrible rundown of this article. I'm sorry. But I think that
I forgive you because you got the insight to realize that you are doing a terrible job.
well, why don't you take it over from me? But from my opinion, I think corporations should have the power to do what they will with their people.
Oh well, you live by the soul, Devin. Let's hope you don't complain when you die by it. Let's hope so. Kurt, what did you get? Do you get a gold star, or are you in the naughty bag with Heather?
I get the gold star, and this one kind of gets my cackles up a bit because we expect as a community of people that we expect that people that run things like organizations and corporations are going to be responsible in their hiring, and we have these expectations, but they're falsely placed expectations because they're not looking out for anyone but themselves. I've played the corporate game, and now I'm self-employed, and I encourage a lot of people and help a lot of people launch their own endeavors because it's just the nature of the beast. Now, on their end, I do like, if you're not familiar with, it's called Price's Law, right? Price's Law states that 50% of the work performed for an organization or a company is really performed by the square root of people in that organization. So the bigger the organization gets, the more top heavy and superfluous a lot of that salary expense is. And so I understand that. I mean, I've worked in a corporate arena where you're walking down the aisle looking at computers as you walk by, and it's like that dude's shopping for mountain bikes, that lady's looking at sweaters on Etsy, this person's like, who's doing work around here? But that comes to mismanagement, and then they pay the price for it. But when they pay the price for it, they end up coming away with margins and bonuses and payouts, and everyone else.
You gotta have those meetings about that meeting and about that meeting, haven't you? You gotta have, your calendar's got to be filled with Zoom meetings about prospective future meetings, about the past meeting that happened 6 months ago, doesn't it, Kurt?
Yeah. I mean, it's the corporate structure is, as something grows and becomes an entity unto itself and then has managers that have to oversee all those things, it can become a real cesspool of wasted time.
So, Devin, have they worked out what they're going to call your WordPress empire? Is it Solid, Stellar, Liquid Web? What kind of meetings do you have about that, Devin? Are you still having continuous internal meetings about the naming convention?
Last year, my meeting schedule was insane, and I've seen like Zach, who's the GM over here. I used to be a GM, now I'm SVP. He's SVP too. But anyways, his schedule is even crazier. This year, I made a point to get all that off my plate. Like
you're not going to answer my question, are you?
Oh, the WordPress empire? What are we going to call it?
What you're actually going to call what you got? You've got about 4 internal names, for the godforsaken thing. So
I'll call it, I don't know, Stellar WP for now, but maybe we'll change it in the future.
All right, he's all right. I was cruel to him, but he's been cruel to me, though. He can take it. He doesn't care what I say. So, Spencer, what did you think of this? I actually, Professor Galloway's, my feelings towards him are my feelings towards you. He's really smart, but he really pisses me off sometimes. But I thought he's very insightful with this piece, actually. What did you think?
I mean, because I'm old as dust, I can remember back through the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, the politics of different strategies that corporations used, right? And this is literally, I mean, I love his metaphor of Ozempic. This is literally like, we could take this magic pill and we just lose the desire to eat. Well, guess what corporations want today more than anything? As a blowback to the work from home phenomena of the COVID, is all these corporations have empty offices, and all the C-suite people and their mid-managers have been arguing forever to try to get people back to work, and people are like, screw it, we're staying home. So now they realize, here's what we can do. We use those people up, make huge profits, fire all their asses, make a gargantuan bump in the stock price. We all look like heroes. And then we just hire more people back from home when we need them. Ta-da! That's exactly what this new drug is doing. it's not like eating healthier. It's not like going to the gym. It's, oh, if we take this pill, we bump our stock price. We take our $190 million. We go bye-bye, go on to the next C-suite job, and somebody else deals with it next decade. Ta-da. And it's just so obvious because, like, again, you know, whether it's like Reaganomics or trickle down this or just say no, like I've lived through 400 different political / corporate strategies, and I've seen the outcomes of all of them, and none of them work long term. They're all just like the C-suite person is there for as long as they need to make their big stock bump, get their reward, move up the ladder, get old, give their money to Clarence Thomas to get what they want in the Supreme Court, and die. As cynical as that sounds, welcome to corporate America. And that's
I
the
feel
way
sorry for Clements. He needs his money, doesn't he? He needs the RV needs additional customization, doesn't it?
What I don't understand of smart people sometimes is I like to say I'm a spiritual person having a human existence, but as a capitalist and as a realist, I've lived in Chicago my whole life. I live in the real world of understanding that politics and corporate and capitalism are all based on human psychology and behavior. And when you put people in a position where they're rewarded for bumping the stock price and they get no consequence for offloading all the employees, what do you think they're going to do? Just like when the building inspectors were rewarded more money by being paid, you know, to just look the other way than from their salary, Chicago had a huge problem with crime. And, you know, I mean, this is human behavior stuff. So I'm surprised when people just think that we're living in some fairy tale world. So the way to change this is to change the incentives. It's not going to happen anytime soon, though, in a world based on stockholders controlling everything.
And I want to make it clear, Tribe, that if you want to become a new friend of mine, you can take me on luxury holidays, pay for all my holidays, pay for my RV, buy homes at interest-free loans. If you want to become my friend, my true friend, you can offer all this, and it's most welcome, folks. Just to be my friend. There we go. So on to the next one. GutenBricks, a bricks builder, the ultimate design deal for clients. This was a YouTube video done by Paul and WP-Tonic. It looks a really interesting idea. Did you see this one, Justin? And what do you think about this?
Oh, yes. I actually just watched it this morning. I'm really excited to see people building on top of top of the block editor. The one thing that worried me a little bit, just on the more technical side, was this looked more like patterns that he was building than blocks. And I know there's probably like some different debates around what constitutes a block, but in my opinion, a block should be just mostly kind of a single self-contained unit. And so it's more of like a terminology thing. I was a little worried about. I don't want to further confuse users. But yeah, I mean, I think under the hood, these are blocks. I just don't know if I like, that kind of terminology. I feel like everything I saw in the video is like, we're building patterns. But it's really cool. I love seeing, something like bricks have, this capability. Really awesome.
Well, I thought it was awesome. I've got the same feelings in some ways as you. It looks awesome, but you do wonder about the performance. But I did. But we will see, won't we? So, Devin, what did you think of this?
Yeah, I thought it's pretty neat. I mean, it's kind of like the ACF integration, right? Like you can build blocks out of ACF, but this is bricks. I haven't personally used bricks too much. I know you have Kevin on here quite a bit. I don't really know him at all.
I've heard him on twice. I've heard him on twice.
Yeah. Well, bricks. I mean, just watching the video, I was impressed with the ability to build. If you go to this GutenBricks site. It's not really my design style. It looks a little unpolished. Some of the color choices are a little bit goofy. So I'd say it needs some of that bricks veneer because the bricks UI is really nice looking. This is by WP Wired or Wired WP. Never heard of them either.
No, I suggested they needed a About Us page to tell us who they are, really.
Yeah. So, if you want to come in, make some money off the tail of bricks, then let us know who you are. come out of the gates maybe with a little bit more polish. But I'm not going to trash what they're doing. It looks pretty sweet compared to like what I'm used to is ACF or just building the damn things manually, which is difficult unto itself. So if I could have a UI like this and build really nice blocks, hey, why not? I like how you can lock it down for clients too, and lock down certain elements like headings and things like that. The dynamic content they showed with the blog post example, where it has the different cards for the blog post, and you can modify the headings above that. There's some really powerful stuff here.
So, Heather, what did you think? Did you have time to have a quick look at it, or was you too busy?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that like with any kind of builder, they make it seem like it's easier than it is. And that's the danger here, that like some people will come to this and they'll be like, oh, I can build my own blocks. And then they'll try, and then they're going to be like, no, I can't build my own blocks. And then they're going to get either mad for paying the money, and then, or they're going to just keep paying for this service forever.
Yeah, but in fairness, Heather, I think this is aimed really at the kind of WordPress professional market, isn't it? Or do you think I'm wrong about that?
No, well, yes and no. I mean, whenever you say like do this without code, then yeah, it's a WordPress professional. But like whenever you say you can do this without coding, you're going to get the people that think that they can make their own website without a professional. And yeah, I mean, that's what's concerning me about this.
Yeah. If I may interject just a moment, I think one of the great things they could do is use WordPress Playground right now to demo this thing. Like, you don't have to, that way potential clients could, see it live and test it before they buy. And I wish a lot more plugin companies would do that.
Right, yeah. What did you think of this, Spencer?
I have two opinions. One is on the entrepreneurial side. I like the fact that it's like a second tier, third tier solution, as Devin was alluding to. I mean, Justin as well, that like, it's really neat when somebody, it'd be great for their marketing if they made themselves known. When somebody comes in and says, I have a way to improve this other popular product. I mean, I do that with launch flows. You're 3 steps down. You need WordPress, WooCommerce, then launch flows, and probably a CRM. So I like that. I think there's huge benefits for anybody who really wants to start out in WordPress making money, especially from a technical or even modestly technical. Do that. That's an example of the birdie on the hippo's back philosophy that I teach to people. You don't have to be in the gigantic forest. Just find one big hippo that's bricks and make an additional thing that makes it better. Some of my other good friends do this, like Ryan Moore from Uncanny. I mean, Owl has created a gigantic empire around fixing what's wrong with LearnDash, even though LearnDash is awesome. But okay. And the thing I'm not so sure, I mean, it is the number one LMS out there. The second part about it, which I'm not so excited about, but I can't take away the enthusiasm, is this is another example of not having top-down organization. So every branch begets 5 or 6 or 7 other branches. And now you have these communities, people building accessories on accessories on accessories on accessories on accessories. And then suddenly you have this poor schmo who comes in from the flea market like, look, I bought 80,000 things randomly. Why doesn't it all work? Wouldn't it be neat if all that stuff was in some way figured out from the top down? But I don't want to take away the enthusiasm or the profitability of what exists today for those who want to participate.
Well, I think you touched on the fundamental question that needs to be answered in the next couple of years. Can you have an open source project that has a more kind of unified UX design interface and less security and less flea market persona, but on the same breath, don't go too far. So you just have a locked in SaaS model with none of the flexibility of choosing a key component if you don't like what is somebody doing.
Well, I have an answer from the source. You had your interview with Matt. When I interviewed Matt, his direct answer was very black and white. The flea market.
I'm
is
very surprised if you got
the flea
ever
market
got a
is
direct
going no.
answer from that. Oh,
The flea market is going nowhere fast. It's not going away. He's going to do the things that we've seen him doing lately, like, hey, I'm going to cut a deal with Twilio to do this, to sell your data on SMS or whatever the hell he's doing next. But the flea market is here to stay. So the answer to your hypothetical question is, in my opinion, yes, there is a solution. That's what I'm spending my energy on, which, along with other people in the community who want to participate with me, is we're going to curate WordPress as a service for those who would rather avoid the flea market. And it doesn't mean that the flea market doesn't have a purpose. I can go to the Mercedes dealer and drive off with a new car supported by them and, serviced by them, but I could still buy parts for Mercedes at a flea market if I want, or build a Mercedes out of old parts. But that's the community we're talking about. Like, at some point, those worlds exist together, but I just feel bad for those who don't know how to find that, because that's where most of my clients come from. People who are really smart, but are like, Jesus, I was looking at this video from 6 minutes ago and it said to be using, the classic editor. And I don't even know what you're talking about with everything else that happened 5 minutes since then, because we're moving so fast and these guys and girls are breaking stuff so fast and adding so many metaphors and changing the UI, and it's being published everywhere. It's like, hold on, like every other SaaS platform, you just go to the top and everything is defined. Here's the feature, here's the documentation. Yeah. It's just too bad that it has to be done privately, but I feel like that's
I had Brian Gardner on Tuesday having a discussion with Kevin. And the thing he said to me during the interview that he thought for the next year, there needs to be improvements, but also the pace needs to be considerably slowed down. So it's more dealing with issues that need to be dealt with than revolutionary added functionality to be added to it. And I agree with him. And I think I'm not putting words in his mouth. Am I, Kurt? I think that's what he said, Kurt, isn't it?
That's pretty much it.
Right, I'm going to wrap up the show. I'm going to drop the last story because I don't want to be executed online. So I'm going to get rid of the last story, and we're almost up for the hour. So Justin, what's the best way for people to find out more about you and your thoughts, Justin?
You can always just follow my blog, justintadlock.com, or Twitter, at JustinTadlock.
And hopefully,
happy to chat with anybody who DMs or pings me or whatever.
Yeah, he's a great guy, Justin. Hopefully you will agree to come back on the Roundtable Show. You have not been put off for life. Devin, what's the best way for people to find out more about you and what you're up to, Devin?
Yeah, well, if you're going to WordCamp Asia, I'm going to be on a flight across the world on Monday, and I'll be there next week. So check me out there. Otherwise, go to devin.org, devin.org, and find out all about me.
I love Devin, but I hate Devin. What's it to be intelligent, good looking, live in a great part of the world, have a great family. It's disgusting, Devin, isn't it?
Jonathan.
Yeah. I have none of these. I have none of these things, Devin. So. I'm not bitter and twisted, am I, Devin? There we go. Heather, what's the best? Heather's looking very concerned. Is she frozen? Oh no. Heather, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to, Heather?
So you can find me at hebriel.com, Hebriel on all the socials. And if you are in Kansas City, I'll be at the Kansas City Developer Conference in June. So we'll see you guys in the Midwest.
Well, you might see Kurt. You never know. That's where he lives. Spencer, what's the best way for people to find out more about what you're up to and your thoughts, Spencer?
WP-Launchify.com or the website or social Spencer Foreman, F-O-R-M-A-N.
And Kirk, thanks for that, Spencer. He's been a soldier. I can't talk. A soldier. I don't know what's happening. I need to take more scotch. That's what I need. Kurt,
amen.
What's the best way for people to find out more about you and what you're up to?
Keep it simple today. LinkedIn. Just look up Kurt Von Onen on LinkedIn. I'm the only one there, and we'll connect and we'll see what happens.
That's great. And if you want to support the show, why don't you go over to the WP-Tonic YouTube channel and become a subscriber there? We're always putting fantastic content on the channel. We will be back next week with a great interview, me and Kirk. And at the end of the month, another great roundtable show. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.